worship service is optional for your kids, it will not be optional. They just won't come. They just won't come. It won't be optional for them. So you have to train your children early to worship God and to know what it is to be here and to worship. And they'll see that. They see it. Financial boundaries. What do we say about financial boundaries, Tom?
Well, make financial decisions as one, and avoid hidden spending.
Okay.
My approach on that is, she can go to the store and buy her dresses or whatever. It's not really hidden, but in our life, me and Linda's many major purchases, we're together on that, whether we need it or gotta have it or something like that.
Right.
And that makes a stronger bond with your spouse as well. That they're involved in every major decision.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
I would also add, I know some people that have like separate checking accounts and different like accounts for their payroll.
Yeah.
I think you need to have like one account. You would trust that person wisely with your
one account versus separate accounts, checking accounts.
Separate, like she pays the house or you pay the you both pay.
Yeah. I think that works. It works for Susie and I. It sure does. Any other comments about financial boundaries? I just recently Susie just recently traded in, got a new car. Susie didn't think I had discussed it with her as much as I needed to, right, Susie? Kind of, sort of. You're not making a comment. But anyway, she let me know that, and she was right, and I apologized to her for that. But I thought I had discussed it with her enough because I was talking and we were having a yard sale. I said, hey, I'm thinking about trading cars and this is what I want to do. Are you okay with it? And she said, yeah, I'm fine with it. But I probably should have gone more in depth and instead of 30 minutes before I traded. But
I just like the other one better, but hey, whatever.
She likes the other one better. So anyway, it's always good to go in with your spouse and talk about financial matters. No surprise. Don't get surprise bills in, credit card bills, things like that. Public affirmation that says honor and praise your spouse publicly to strengthen love. What's the advantage of honoring and praising your spouse publicly? What's the advantage of that?
Everybody else knows it.
That's right. Speak well of your spouse in front of others. Don't ever speak anything about your spouse in a detrimental way to others. Avoid venting frustrations to people to the opposite sex. If I start complaining about Susie to Jenny over there, hopefully she's gonna say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I don't want to go down that road. I'm not gonna listen to that." That's pretty firm, but she probably said it in a more diplomatic way. But there's no need for me to discuss anything. And if I've got something that I need to discuss with Susie, I need to talk to her about it. We need to communicate with each other and try to get it worked out. Remember, what's the number one cause for divorce? It's not financial. What is it?
Communication.
It's communication. It's communication. A lack of communication. You need to talk to your spouse and visit with them on all these hedges right here to prevent something going down the road later that would cause you and your spouse to separate or have a divorce. And what's the only scriptural reason for divorce, class? Is adultery. Is adultery. That's the only scriptural reason God gives us to divorce. Otherwise, you cannot divorce. It'd be sinful to divorce. Let's look at the book on touchy-touchy. We're going to look at this for a second. William, would you read hedge number 2? It's got there under touchy-touchy.
Hedge number 2.
It's at the very top.
Maintain the hedge around the heart.
Under touchy-touchy, it's got I am careful.
He's reading from the study
So,
guide.
okay, study guide in the back.
I'm reading from the book,
Okay, not sorry.
Touchy, lesson 8, not the study guide.
Okay.
You got it?
I got it. Number one, the first one, brother?
Yeah.
Okay. I am careful about touching, while I might shake hands or squeeze an arm or a shoulder in greeting. I embrace only dear friends or relatives, and only in front of others.
And when you talked to class, you said those words, didn't you?
Very important.
You said those words. You even said went so far as you're not friends with anybody of the opposite sex, didn't you?
I said that because of my wife and if we're married, I myself can never say my friend.
It's our friend.
It's got to be our friend.
And we do understand what you're talking about. It would be difficult for me to have a real close female friend and Susie not have a close female friend.
That's right.
I mean, that would be wrong, in my opinion. You're going down a bad road there. It's our friend. So I got to ask the ladies a question. What's your opinion about how a man greets you? I taught this class one other time, a long time ago. It was another subject, but and I asked that question. Some ladies like or huggy or touchy, and some ladies are not. They just totally hands off. But what's your opinion of how a man greets you? What's your opinion of how a man greets you? Yeah, you got an answer to that?
Well, I have been single so many years of my life.
Right.
I just prefer not touchy.
Yeah. When I come up to you, I'm asking you a sincere question. I'm more of a touchy guy. I really am, but I've got to be careful about that one. But when I come up to you, are you offended if I hug you around the side like that?
But I know you.
Yeah. That's true.
Especially for people that I do not know or I'm not very well acquainted with.
Right. That's good. A good answer. I think that's correct. Who else wants to make a comment, ladies? I'm soliciting your comment about that one. Anybody else? Who's not a touchy person? Would rather just shake hands with a guy when he comes up. Okay. From etiquette purposes, I just knew this about 5 years ago. From an etiquette purposes, it's not biblical. A lot of times when we would go to places, I would come out and I'd stick my hand up like that, and the lady would look at me and she would pause for a second, the ones that really didn't want to touch, and then they would shake hands. If the lady extends the hand first, from etiquette purposes, then that's when you should do that. But the men should never extend their hands even. Did you know that? That's etiquette purposes. I don't really do that a lot of times. But if a lady wants to extend her hand and greet the male from a touchy standpoint, that's a proper way to do it. Any more comments about that? Nobody wants to comment, do they?
Well, I'm thinking it's more like relationship.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm trying to think about it. If I'm meeting somebody, you know, and meet somebody at the grocery store or something, we get to talking, I wouldn't hug them goodbye.
Right.
I don't even know that I would shake his hand. So I think it would just depend on, to me, each situation. But yes, I would feel comfortable with me hugging you and not think anything of it.
Right. Absolutely.
But like you said, the side hug would be the appropriate way to do that.
Right.
Sometimes you can read people.
Yeah.
You know, just like Brandon, yes.
Who obeyed the gospel this weekend?
Yes, he was baptized, last night or the night before. Well, I've seen him enough to know that he would not want me to run up there and start hugging on him.
Right.
So this morning I said, so proud. Well, I just did his hands, you know.
Right.
But some people you can read. Well, I don't think all of us are going to run up and start hugging him because we realize he's kind of.
Right. That's a good point.
So I could be wrong, but that's what I did.
I mean,
And that's okay, but when I saw him yesterday, I gave him a hug.
did you?
And I was like, man,
Great.
right, yes,
You
welcome, welcome to the club.
That's good.
I like that, but I just don't know if we all did that. If we go, oh, what's
Right.
going on here?
Right, so it depends on it definitely depends.
From a cultural standpoint, I wrote that down. I love my dad very much. I know he loved me. I don't ever remember my dad hugging me growing up. I don't really remember my dad really embracing me. I'm talking about a good hug until after Susie and I married. And I would go up to him and I would hug him like that, and he kind of would flinch a little bit. It wasn't their culture in those days at all. My dad always stuck his hand out, shook my hand, and he would come around like that and hit me on the shoulder and things. But it was not his culture, his character in those times to come up and for men to embrace each other. But I think today, like you said, Al, I thought of that. Every time I see my sons, I embrace them, and they embrace me. And my grandsons and granddaughters and so forth. But we have a different culture than we used to have. And that's the way it is. Let's read about a cultural change. Let's start there. I don't know when. Everybody with me there with the first paragraph? I don't know was a significant Jesus people movement heading east from California, and that movement had originated among street people and hippies, accustomed to more openness than the rest of society. Certain things became more acceptable in the church. It wasn't all bad, he says in the third paragraph. I was visiting a camp when I was about 15, and after a particularly moving evening of testimonies and singing and speaking, people were weeping and swaying as they sang with arms around each other's shoulders. Then you go on to the fourth paragraph. That was interesting and different. But what impressed me was the freedom everybody felt after they hugged each other. Like this next one. I had a girlfriend I didn't mind hugging, but I wasn't crazy about anyone else hugging her. That's not uncommon. I was shocked to see high school girls hugging camp leaders, and I knew they were married, but it didn't seem to bother anyone else. So you started seeing a cultural shift there, a change. That was at a time of life when I would have enjoyed hugging any female, he said, but still it didn't seem right. At that age, you wonder if you can control yourself if given the opportunity to embrace a beautiful girl. Suddenly it seemed okay to hug anybody who was as happy as you were because we were brother and sister in Christ. I was slow to catch on to the joy of it, and it was hard to keep emotions and feelings in check when you could embrace an adult woman, plus all the girls your own age. It happened all of a sudden, this new freedom, and there was something spiritual about it. He said the rub, pardon the pun, was that unless I was the only pervert around, I had a good idea that most of the guys my age, remember he's a teenager, were feeling less spiritual and more sensual and physical about all of this. So I think you've got to be careful about that as well. Let's go to that last sentence. To say I was a hot-blooded teenager if you want, but this new openness to embrace was both a dream come true and a nightmare for me at the same time. Christian psychologist James Dobson says that outside of hunger, the most powerful of all the human urges is the sexual appetite. He adds that Christians have the same biochemical forces within their bodies that non-Christians do. And I can add from experience that teenagers, especially males, are bursting with erotic yearnings. So I'm going to read the next paragraph a little bit, then we'll move on. I know we're talking about 40 years ago, so that may seem like the dark ages, but how far we've come as a society and a church since then is staggering. We might not want to admit that maybe things were better before the sexual revolution in the church, but we have to ask ourselves, and this is a very important question, Were infidelity, were divorce, and scandal as rampant then? Is that, I'm asking that question. He's asking that question. Were they prevalent in those days? I never knew, I'm a small town guy, I never knew of a divorce in the church, and even in my town growing up. I never knew of that. Nobody divorced. This was in the 60s. It just didn't happen as far as I knew. Homosexuality. I'm going to be honest with you, you're like I'm crazy. I didn't even know what that word meant until I was about 16. Tom, you shaking your head the same way?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a small town too that didn't exist. You know? Yeah. We were all farmers, country boys.
Yeah. And,
you know, that was unheard of.
That's right. So I couldn't believe it when I learned what it meant and what it was that some would be attracted to the same sex. Bill Clinton in 1993, y'all remember what he came out with? Well, you ought to remember that. In 1993, what did he come out with as far as homosexuals?
Don't tell, don't nothing.
Don't ask and don't tell.
Yeah, for the military.
If you are a homosexual or a lesbian, you can serve in the military, but don't ask if you are one and don't tell if you are one. And what happened if they learned that you were, if you told that you were? You'd be kicked out of the service. You'd be kicked out of the service. That was his way of still accepted that. What's that?
No, he had some wild things going on.
Well, he's from Arkansas. That's so our society has pushed that agenda now for many, many years, and you can see more and more of that happening with young men and young ladies, and thinking there's not anything wrong with it, but it's an abomination in God's sight. So those things have come along based on cultural differences since then. Let me give this sheet out to you. We'll get Alan to help me if he would. Let me give you this. I think I've got it pretty well lined up.
You know, at first I'm old.
Ma'am?
Even my dad, even the husband kissed me. He would be nice to me.
Right.
But he would never have done that. Of course, this has been a lot of years ago.
Right. It was not the culture in those days, was it? Was that prevalent with your families as well? I mean, did your dad hug you a lot?
No, my dad didn't hug me.
No, from all the males I'm looking at, it just wasn't happening. Well,
my dad didn't.
No, that's right. But there was nothing wrong with that. It's just that you were taught to shake hands as a male and not hug. But let's look at touchy with the opposite sex. Everybody got a copy of that one? We're going to be on one page, and if you flip the page in a minute, we're going to take a little test there for you. Hope everybody's got a pen. Not a pen. The theme here is Christians must guard purity by showing respect, self-control, and godly restraint in physical interactions with the opposite sex. Let me get somebody to turn to 1 Corinthians 7:1, and then somebody else turn to 1 Thessalonians 4:3-8, and somebody else turn to Proverbs 6:27-32. So we'll read all this together. So 1 Corinthians 7:1. Who turned there? Tom?
1 Corinthians 7:1.
1 Corinthians 7:1. Everybody listen.
Now concerning the things of which you wrote to me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman.
That's exactly right. That was Paul writing to the Corinthian church. And he said it is good for a man not to touch a woman. He's talking about outside the marriage relationship, because he goes on there. He says, but because of sex and that get married. They get married. But that's what he was talking about. But he said it's better for a man not to touch a woman. Okay, who turned to 1 Thessalonians 4, verses 3 through 8?
Okay.
All right, Alan.
It is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control his own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in passionate lust like the heathen who do not know God, and that in this matter no one should wrong his brother or take advantage of him. The Lord will punish men for all such sins, as we have already told you and warned you. For God did not call us to be impure, but to live a holy life. Therefore, he who rejects this instruction does not reject man, but God, who gives you his Holy Spirit.
Okay. So he says in the last verse, if you reject this and disregard this as a man of God, God who gave you the Holy Spirit to guard against these things. So as we heard this morning in our lesson, we all as Christians have the Holy Spirit given to us. So we need to take advantage of that. Any comments about that verse? Abstain from sexual immorality. Control your body in holiness and honor. And then I like Proverbs 6. It's a pretty long passage there, but if you've got time to, everybody turn over there now. Proverbs 6, verse 27 through 32. Proverbs 6, 27 through 32. Taylor, you want to read that real loud for us?
Sure. Can anyone take fire in his lap and his clothes not be burned? Or can a person walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is the one who goes into his neighbor's wife. Whoever touches her will not go unpunished. People do not despise a thief if he steals, to satisfy himself when he is hungry. But when he is found, he must repay 7 times as much. He must give up all the property of his house. One who commits adultery with a woman is lacking sense. He who would destroy himself commits it.
Okay. He who does this destroys himself. And so these are verses that talk about having relationships with the opposite sex and sexual encounters. And so these are warnings for all of us. Now I've outlined number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 here. If you look at number 1, it says the problem. Number 2 is the principle. Number 3 is the practice. And number 4 is the purpose and the promise. So what's the problem? Let's get somebody to read that if you would. Who would like to read that? The problem is a culture that is too comfortable in today's world, which we just talked about. Chris, you going to read that?
Sure. Society, social media, etc. encourages casual touch, flirtation, and emotional closeness outside of marriage. Text, emails, calls, lunches, etc. must not happen, if at all possible. What the world calls harmless often opens the door to temptation. Many affairs and broken marriages begin with the innocent touch. What begins as innocent can awake desires meant for marriage. Song of Solomon 2:5-7. Ask yourself, do my physical interactions honor God?
Okay. Any comments about the problem? We've hit the problem pretty good. Michelle, you want to read the principle for us?
1 Corinthians 7:1. It is good for a man not to touch a woman. Paul isn't forbidding all touch, but warning against intimate or suggestive touch that leads to sin. 1 Thessalonians 4:3-5. This is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality. God calls us to control our bodies in holiness and honor. Illustration: David and Bathsheba. One look, one wrong step led to destruction.
Okay. We all know the story of David and Bathsheba, don't we? And it led to murder after that, where David had Bathsheba's husband on the front line. He got killed. Number 3, the practice. Jonathan, you want to read that for us?
Guard physical contact, avoid unnecessary or prolonged touch, frontal hugs, hands around each other, kiss on the cheek, casual touches that send the wrong signals. If a woman is approached this way, she could back up and offer a handshake. Guard emotional closeness. Many sins begin emotionally before becoming physical. An affair almost never starts in the bedroom or the hotel. Guard your reputation. Abstain from every appearance of evil. Remember, Your example affects the church's influence.
Okay. You notice on, I got USA there in parentheses. What did I put that in there for?
Respect people, keep them respectful.
Yeah, in foreign countries, and Australia, do they kiss on the cheek? They don't. No, they don't do that. In Romania, they do. In Romania, that's part of greeting. And if you're going on this side, which this older lady with a covering and so forth, and she just was going side to side, and she missed it and got me right there, boy. So that was her way of greeting me. But I asked for Susie for a shirt after that.
So it wasn't all we get?
It was not. She was a nice lady, but that's the way they greeted. But anyway.
Do you think the Holy Kiss is more of a tradition that they did, like you just said, in different countries,
yeah,
back when Paul and those people?
Yeah. And I still think some countries, that's what Romania, they still do that, you know. When we went to church, they come around like still doing that. Kiss on the cheek, that's their way.
It's okay if we don't, right?
Huh?
It's okay if we don't.
Well, that's culture.
That'd be inappropriate if we did.
That's culture, yeah. I think in the United States, that's not appropriate. So these things start with a harmless touch, a lingering look. An affair can start with a harmless touch, a lingering look, playful humor, kidding with an opposite sex about something, and then all of a sudden, we're going down a bad road. So you got to be aware of that. Okay, the purpose and the promise. Honor God, protect the marriage, and God's blessings. Who would like to read that last one?
I read that.
Okay.
Purity preserves trust, respect, the image of Christ in marriage. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. Marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled. Ask yourself, would this behavior please the Lord? Would I act this way if my spouse were here? Do my actions build purity or invite temptation? God honors those who honor him with their bodies. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 20. Conclusion. Touchy behavior may seem harmless and innocent with some, but God calls us to a higher standard. When we honor God with our bodies and interactions, we protect our marriages, influence, and our souls. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 18 through 20.
Okay, let's turn to 1 Corinthians 6, 18 through 20, and go ahead, Wade, you read that if you would.
Okay. Flee sexual immorality. Every sin that a man does is outside the body, but he who commits sexual immorality sins against his own body. But do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought with the price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's.
Okay. That 40th verse, isn't it?
That's a very important verse.
Very 40th verse. I tell you what we're going to do. Let's turn it over. Turn that page over. Touchy with the opposite sex. I'm going to ask you to get the lesson, fill in the blank. There's 5 questions there at the top. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and fill in the blank and bring it back Wednesday night. And we'll discuss this on Wednesday night, as well as hedges of protection and the discussion questions there. So you've got to fill in the blank on guard the heart, treat his family, avoid temptation, flee, don't flirt, and walk in purity. So please fill that out and have it. If you look at, I'm about to ring the bell, but if you look at the key verse there, Job 31:1, that says this: I have made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I gaze at a virgin? I have made a covenant with my eyes. How could I gaze at a virgin? Lingering look, you cannot do that. And so please go ahead and get these and come back Wednesday night, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you for all your comments. Give good answer. Exactly right. Certain men would not, let
I would never do that with somebody that I really not.
That's right.
And I go, husband, I what?
That's exactly right. Maybe it's,
You know, they were all covered in long clothes, so it wasn't like covered. And then every little lady has a scarf. Really, not like a cover, they just all wear them. Because they're old and cold, and no teeth. And that's come right at you, man. It's like, okay, like